Duty.
Oh, hello. So tonight, really interesting that we're going to talk a little bit about cataracts and how these poor dogs must be feeling. But before we go into that, Connor, we've got some news.
Oh yeah, we do. We nearly lost him. We were about to be a duo.
Just two. A duo.
Yeah. A duo.
A duo. I can't believe you said that.
Yeah. So poor Thompson was over in where was he? He was over in Estonia spreading the good word. And
he was indeed. Yeah.
Yeah, and he had a very successful time of it. I'm sure he'd love to have reneged us with his tails. And then on the way home on the plane, I think he was leaving Germany. So was it Estonia to Germany? Did he say he was flying out of Germany?
Yeah,
for some reason?
he said he did say he was over Germany. So it was
always over Germany, and the airplane had engine trouble. And I was thinking, oh no, did you hear it? He goes, yeah, the plane slowed down, dropped in height purposely, but it's like you don't want either of those two things happening. And then they said we're going to have to turn around because we've got an engine problem. I was like, oh no, oh my God. He said he didn't care at all. I mean,
I don't know. He did say no. He got over it and then just went back to his podcast.
Okay, yeah,
remember? just typical. He's now stuck. Was he coming on the way back over? Is that right?
Well, it has to be a direct flight from Estonia to England. I mean, surely there's a heap of direct flights. I mean, why would you get two flights there? Did you ever have a near miss in a plane? Did you ever have anything exciting happen in the plane?
No, just rough turbulence. That's probably the worst. And, I'm not really that worried when it comes to that. My wife absolutely
Chris
ripped my hand. I usually end up with a white knuckle ride purely and simply because there's no blood getting to my fingers anymore.
Put gin or put duty free in or takes the edge off. I was on the honeymoon there with Lane, and we were taking off. We flew to I think it was Philly, and from Philly going on to West Coast. Can't remember where we stopped. I think it was Philly. And we landed in Philly. We get an American Airlines, and as we're taking off, both of us have our earphones on. We're settling down. This is gonna be a nice little flight. And then there's like clearly a hullabaloo, and it's like, oh, and then it's like they interrupted whatever we were listening or watching or whatever, and we need to interrupt this. There's a something, and I missed it. You're just waiting for them to stop talking to get back to whatever you're listening to. I look across on the lanes, like ashen face, looking at me, going. And I was like, oh shit, what did they just say? So I take off my earphones and I'm listening and then it comes on again. Red 42, we have an emergency on the plane. And I was like, I was like, my stomach dropped. I was thinking, oh no, an emergency. That's surely terrible. And then she goes, she speaks again. She goes, Red 42, we have a medical emergency. The first one I heard was Red 42, we have an emergency. I didn't hear medical emergency, and then I heard it was a medical emergency, and I hate to admit it, I was like, whew, but somebody passed
until you then heard it was the pilot.
It's grand. Well, it's all automatic these days. They're just there for show. Like an airplane.
We can autopilot. Autopilot till we get to Heathrow, and then somebody else will have to deal with it.
I think so. But I was scared when I heard that. But some poor old girl stood up and passed out in the aisle. But she was okay too. But they thought it was a heart attack, I think, probably. But she was good. They said, is there a doctor on the plane? And I went to stand up like in Friends. And Lane said, holding me down. You're not a doctor, Carl. You remember that in Friends? Is there a doctor? And what's his name goes to stand up. He's like, oh, brilliant. The ego.
Have you got a fossil that I need to save?
You'd have to fancy your chances, Bren, in any sort of medical emergency. I mean, surely pretty much all those skills that you have translate. I mean, not that you do too much CPR. Have you ever done CPR on a cat or a dog?
Yeah, I have.
Have you?
But you've got to understand. So the interesting thing is that actually the defibs that you can now get. So we have one outside the front of the practice for people. So I did my first aid course for humans the other year, and actually it changes the survival rate dramatically if you can get one of those defibs on. So ridiculous. How many people do you think survive if you just do CPR when they've had a rest?
I thought lots. No. Oh.
Give us an estimate. Go on.
I'm going to stick with my original thoughts, thinking 75, 80%. If there's somebody there on point doing even bad CPR, I heard, What? I
Drop
won't
it.
go lower than 50. 50,
Drop
50.
it.
No way.
Drop it.
35%.
Drop it.
Oh, this is desperate. 25%.
Drop it.
20%.
Drop it.
No way. It can't be.
Yeah.
You've got to have a better shot than 15%, 10%, 10%. 10%. Chance.
However, if you get one of the shock things on them, the defibs, it skyrockets.
Whoa.
It goes way back up to nearly 70 to 80%.
I'm absolutely staggered. I mean, bloody hell.
So it is one of those that's there's debates between 5 and 15%. I've given you the halfway part. Depends on which figures you look at. But yeah, a number of times it is just a case of, doing manual CPR. And they've even taken, the breathing bit out now. You just rely on the fact that the heart pumps are going to, give them the breaths. But yeah, defib makes a massive difference.
Wowzers.
Okay?
Is there a defib?
It tells you what to do.
Yeah.
So effectively, you get it off the wall. So you'll ring in our case, the NHS, but whichever emergency service, they tell you the code to take it out of the community defib, and we've got one on the front of the practice. So it's all ready, charged up, and everything. So it's on a continual charge thing, and then you take it to the patient. Literally, as you lay it down, and it starts telling you where to place the electrodes, that are all in the pack, and you plug it in. It immediately says checking, and it will effectively read what, has it truly stopped the heart, or is it in fibrillation? Is it in asystole? All of that side of things, and then it will tell you what it's going to do and when to stand clear, and it even tells you how hard, making sure that you're putting the percussions onto the chest, etc.
Whoa.
But people assume, somebody's doing CPR, that patient's going to get up. It's really hard to keep them going. Really, really hard.
Whoa, I'm shocked. That happened to my best friend right in front of me, 19 years old, in our house, in front of me, and it was a shocker. Wow. But they said he hadn't a hope. Any 19-year-old having a heart attack that's it. So shocker. And they said even if that happened in a hospital, they said it'd be a pretty fatal kind of situation for a young lad. But shocker. But shocker, pardon the pun. But so is there such thing as a defib for pets, or is it just all manual stuff?
No, that's no. So we have to do manual. Okay, you can defib them, but often what we're doing is you will probably, sorry if you guys are sensitive at this time on a Tuesday night, but you usually will crack the chest. So you'll open the chest and manually palpate the heart. Okay, to get them with your hands. You're really going to go. Yeah. Well, you put a glove on, but go in. And then in some of the hospitals, they'll have paddles. But most people won't want you to do that to their pet. So they will only accept you going in with adrenaline and, doing CPR on the table.
But what's the end point? I mean, once you've got your fist around the dog's heart, I mean, how are you going to go?
Yeah. No, you can pretty much stitch them up. You obviously are breathing for them because you've gone into the chest. Yeah. If you can get the heart going again, they don't do too badly. You put chest drains and in a few things like that. We used to do that in the late 80s, early 90s at the university hospitals. That's what they'd be doing, especially for their cardiac patients that were in for valve replacements or things like that. Somebody just spent in those days £15,000 on a dog's valve replacement, and then it goes into cardiac arrest. They just say, look, you've got to try everything. We're not going to waste that.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
So shocker.
Literally, absolutely. We are Raw Pet Medics. We are two of the three of them anyway. You'll catch us on patreon.com.
The better two. Don't tell Nick, but the better two.
Yeah. And we're patreon.com/Raw Pet Medics, and there you will find us. I think I'm going to, without even telling you, Bren, I've got I found this cool product and I want to try it out on dogs with cataracts, but we'll get through the show and then we'll get to a few and we'll pick out, I'm thinking I would just buy 3 or 4 of these. They're real cheap, and we'll give them to dogs with cataracts. And I was thinking, do you think this is a good idea, Bren? It seems like an absolute winner. So that is, stick around to the end of the show where I talk about that, because I'm excited, but I want to get Bren's opinion on it first. So Bren, do you want to tell us what the difference is between cataracts and just old eyes? I'm surprised at the title tonight. What's the difference?
Right. Okay. So I think first things first, many of us worry about a dog's eyes changing, becoming cloudy. And there are many reasons for that. And people assume it's cataracts, and the same for cats. And actually, we've got to differentiate between what is the surface of the eye, the cornea, and that becoming opaque because of damage, chronic inflammation, conjunctivitis. And we've done a previous live on that. So if you want to look about conjunctivitis, red eye, there is a live from about 18 months ago that we did on that, for especially in the summertime and allergies, etc. The next step is actually further back, is the lens of the eye. So what we're actually looking at here is the part of the eye which focuses the light on the retina. And that is held behind the colored part of the eye, which is the iris, which creates the pupil, which is the hole in the middle. And inside that, there is the lens. Now, that lens is made up of 2 layers of cells, okay, in a stroma, so in a gel-like pack. The back layer they're quite large, elongated cells. The front layer are much shorter, and they create this wonderful sac of clear material that the light can go through and refract round, okay? So that is a wonderful structure that's in there. And what we need to be aware of is, for that lens to work, it needs to be clear. But as it ages, that doesn't stay in that clear form, and it can start to refract light, and it will look blue in bright daylight.
Okay.
But if you shine a light on it, you will see straight through the lens and onto the retina, and the light will come straight back at you. So that is what we call nuclear sclerosis, which is an old age change to the eye. Whereas and that means you can get light through. And so it's almost becoming more short-sighted. It's less able to focus the light. So it's not going to be able to read the Sunday Times and give you the crossword answers quite so readily.
Yeah.
But it is going to be able to at least see you,
have quite a normal life.
gesture movement. It's
Yeah.
going to have relatively normal life.
Yeah.
The cataract is at any age, but certainly in older animals, often is a change and either a mineralization or scarring within the lens, which actually stops the light passing through it and hitting the retina. Okay. So you start to actually get obstruction of vision because of those areas. So they can start in the middle and spread out. They can just be blotches on the lens itself. It can be through inflammatory damage. It can be through the viral infections. It could be from physical, it could be from physical damage, and then it could be from diabetes. And diabetes is a really interesting one, because actually that lens should stay nice and dehydrated to stay clear, okay? And actually, if glucose gets into the lens, then water gets sucked in, so the lens effectively swells and becomes opaque. So if you see any changes to your dog's eye, it is definitely worth getting the vet to look into the eye with an ophthalmoscope and see, can they see to the retina? Can they see what's going on with the retina or not? And if they can't, and you think, it's maybe been drinking a little bit more, definitely get
Am I live? How come I'm on the main screen? But it says live. How do I check if I'm live? Uh-oh. Thank God I wasn't picking my nose, everyone. Bran has mysteriously put me live. Let me just check Raw Pet Medics and see if my face is talking. Oh my God, I'm